Hey guys, welcome back to the Fanspo Hoops podcast, episode 10. I'm Evan Robinson, the host from Australia.
I'm Mohid.
This is a TK.
And today we're going to be going over our Western Conference standings predictions. With it, we will be talking about the teams, roster construction, and just a brief overview of what they've done in the last few months. With that being said, we'll get straight into it. So with the 15th seed in the West, who do you guys have?
I have the Utah Jazz.
I have the Portland Trailblazers.
And I've got the Utah Jazz. So we'll go with TK first because he said the Blazers. So why did you pick the Blazers here, TK?
Yeah, I feel like it's more like a development situation right now for them. Like Scoot Henderson and Shane Sharp, who they hope to be their top two guys, are still kind of in their development in terms of trying to impact winning. Like they're not quite there yet. So I think this will be like a bit of a struggle on the offensive end of the floor. Defensively, they'll show some fight and they'll not say like they'll be scrappy, but I think they're still like gonna be very outmatched talent wise. I think in the future they're like a couple years away from eventually competing.
And now to Mohid and I. So I picked Utah last because, quite frankly, I think Portland have just a better roster and better players. And that's what I nitpicked when it came down to the last few seeds. So it's an interesting one because Utah have Lauri Markkanen, who's the best player in these two teams combined by far. But the rest of their roster, it's a bit of a downgrade compared to the Blazers. But I think this one's going to be really close. It's a this or that situation.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Portland, they brought in a guy like Denny, and then I expect Sharp to be better. I expect Scoot. He was obviously really bad last year, but I do expect him to be better. Still not great, but I think Portland just overall have more bright spots for there to be that's like slightly better than Utah. Whereas Utah, I think, are just going to be really bad outside of Lauri Markkanen, and their roster does not look good at all.
Yeah, completely agree. So now to the 14th seed, I've got the Portland Trailblazers.
I've also got Portland.
Yeah, Utah.
So we just briefly discussed it, but I've got Portland here because, well, I think their roster is better than Utah, but again, it'll be extremely close. I do think something that no one's mentioned is Chauncey Billups' coaching is so appalling, and Will Hardy's actually a solid coach, so that could be something which comes into the discussion.
Yeah, it's actually just why I mentioned that. Yeah, I think that's also going to play a big factor. I think Hardy has shown he's able to, not, like elevate his players he has in a sense to they'll win more games than what they have because he's been a great coach for them since he's taken over. Whereas Billups has kind of been the opposite. He hasn't been able to maximize what he's had. He's done the complete opposite of that.
Yeah, I like you bringing up that because I don't think Billups ends up as their head coach by next season. I mean, he's arguably the worst coach in the entire league right now. And I do think Portland just has enough talent on the roster to put them above Utah.
So now to the 13th seed, I've got the Golden State Warriors.
I've got the Spurs.
I've also got the Spurs.
So, the Warriors, right? My favorite team. How do I put this? I think we got better this offseason. I really do. And we were the 10th seed last year and we had a lot of wins. But I just don't trust the second scoring option if that's Kuminga, which it probably will be. And my issue with our team is our health. Steph Curry is battling some injuries, like Green Day said in the last podcast. His health is slowly and surely getting worse. Draymond Green, you just know he's going to get suspended once or twice, again, like everyone said in the last episode. And I don't trust Steve Kerr's coaching anymore. I've lost all faith in it after watching the last few years and even watching Team USA. Some of his decisions were some poor to say the least. However, he did win gold, so I can't dispute that one. But My issue with this team is that I think our size will come back to hurt us more than ever this year because we don't have that perimeter defender who can stop at the point of attack like Clay could over the years, like Wiggins could over the years, who's still here. I think we're relying a lot on a Wiggins bounce back season, and rest in peace to his dad. But that does not. The unfortunate news makes it harder for me to see a bounce back season for Wiggs. But I think we're going to play a pretty bad band of basketball this year.
I actually think the opposite in terms of Wiggins. I think I think after that happened, I think that's now kind of, I think he'll slowly like get out of his head, and I think he'll eventually like get more focused. I think he'll have a bounce back year. I think, and I think I'm also expecting like a Kuminga step forward as well, which I think will help. I think Steph will be Steph as well, so I think he'll be better than 13. Though I have him one spot higher. Spoiler, but I think he'll be better than Spurs still.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors, I do think, are going to end up with less wins than last year, even if the roster is slightly improved. The scoring output outside of Steph is very questionable. But I do think the Spurs, just outside of Wemby, there's not a ton of promise. They got guys like Vassell, and they brought in Chris Paul this offseason, Jeremy Sohan, their rookie Stephon Castle. So there are some like players that could take a leap, but I just don't think their overall roster construction around Wemby is good enough just yet for them to be higher.
Yeah, as I said, it's really nitpicking these bottom seeds, but I'm interested to see, for the Warriors' sake, who you guys would play off the bench. So I think we've got 11, 12 playable guys, and a lot of them are undersized guard/wings. Who would you play off the bench for us, and would you start Kajemski at the 2?
The recording stopped. It started up again when Emin Robinson was ranting about the Nuggets. Sorry, Law.
Who fits perfectly next to Jokic. See, my issue with this is that a lot of people are worried about Braun replacing KCP. I'm more worried about Strother replacing Braun, because Julian Strother has not shown much in his career. He's got a decent 3-point clip on extremely low volume, but other than that, he's been borderline unplayable. You've got Dario Saric, who last year was pretty poor for the Warriors. He had a few good games or two, but Dario Saric is at the point of their career where he's probably a third-string big at best. And then we're not even mentioning the fact that Braun and Watson were not borderline, they were unplayable together in the playoffs, to the point where Watson got DNPs come the back end of that series against the Timberwolves. Braun's minutes dropped dramatically. These guys are guys they're relying on to play minutes together this year and potentially start games if MPJ gets hurt. Then Russell Westbrook. I love Russ, but his fit with this roster is one of the worst fits in the league. He's next to non-shooters minus MPJ when they stagger. His bench lineup he's gonna be next to Strother. He's gonna be next to Watson. He's gonna be next to Saric, who can stretch the floor a little bit. But these guys are going to be reliant on. Russ is going to have the ball in his hands with Jokic lineups, because Russ cannot cut at this point of his career. He's not a good shooter. This has just been a terrible offseason by Denver, and I will be shocked. I wouldn't it's sad to say, but I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't make the play-in at this point. That's how down I am on them. Yes, Jokic has carried some really good teams to the playoffs. It's not a slight on him. It's just a slight on the rest of the front office and the roster. It's just poor. And then one more thing, Jamal Murray I'm worried about him. I am. His 2 playoff series last year, he was really poor, inefficient. His defense dropped off dramatically. He was never really a good defender. Then we get into the Olympics, and I don't take much out of the Olympics. So we see guys like Patty Mills. We see guys like Dennis Schroeder even play star-level basketball. But he was the opposite. He was horrible. He got benched. He was inefficient. He didn't have one good game in the Olympics and even in the exhibition games. Like, Jamal Murray, it's concerning me and they just paid him. It took them a while to pay him, so you can tell they're not that confident in it. So Denver, it's a huge season for them, because they were talking dynasties about 2 years ago. Now they're talking the end of an era. Well, that's what I'm talking. But yes, my apologies for the rant, guys. we shall continue.
Yeah, I went with the Rockets here. I think they have one of the most talented young cores in the entire NBA. If they can get the right guys to step up and have a big breakout year, I think there's a path for them to be a top 6 seed. And I really like what they've done with this roster, building their young players, guys like Amen Thompson, drafted Reed Shepard, Jabari Smith Jr., Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore. They have a ton of young talent across the roster. It's probably the deepest young core in the entire league. And then you also got a good mix of veterans with Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. I think they're the very obvious breakout team in the West.
Yeah, I'm also on the Rockets too. I think Sengun's will take another step forward this year. And I'm very high on Jabari Smith. Like he was much better in his second year in the league, and I think he's only going to get better this year too. And obviously, I think Matt Thompson will take a step forward. I think a lot of the young core will get better. And they still have the vets too. Like they're very good defensively already, like we saw last year. I think their offense will continue to progress with all these guys getting better. So I still think they're not quite at the level of the other teams just yet, but I think they're going to get there very soon.
Now to the 7th seed, I've got the New Orleans Pelicans.
I've got the Nuggets.
I have the Kings.
I've got the Pelicans here because although I like their 1 through 4 on their starting lineup, their center spot is just really concerning me. Either they're going to start Daniel Tice, even Zion at the 5, or Yves Missy. And none of those three appease me at the 5. And they're at the point where I think Brandon Ingram, it's one of the interesting situations in the NBA. Because Herb Jones / Trey Murphy won't start this year, possibly both even. And I'm interested to see how they do this because I would go DeJounte, Herb, BI, Zion, and then a big, whoever they choose. But I feel like Trey Murphy's at the point of the career where for 3 years straight, he's proven he should start. And he'll probably start next year because BI won't be on the roster even near the trade deadline this year. But it all depends on the McCollum / Herb starting lineup spot. I would easily start Herb. But I don't trust their health still. All these guys I mentioned, minus DeJounte, minus Herb, minus Trey, aren't the healthiest guys in the league, to say the least. And you just can't win with Daniel Tice or a rookie like Yves Missy at the starting 5 for the whole year. It took Derek Lively a month or two to really get into strides before he developed. TJD even Chet, he came in very impactful, but his efficiency got there, his rim running got there come the middle of this year. Even Wemby, his first month or two, he took him a while to get into rhythm. But I've got the Pelicans at 7.
Yeah, I went with Denver, and then you basically covered everything. The fact that you can go from like clear-cut best team in the NBA to like not even a playoff lock in 2 years is like absolutely insanely horrible front office like GMing. And I mean their depth is horrible. I think without Jokic, they're easily a bottom 3 team in the West. And I mean, Jokic will do enough, I think, to get them into that play-in tier. If he goes down with an injury, they are insanely cooked. And I mean, the spacing is very, very questionable. You're relying a lot on a guy like Jamal Murray to take a big step up with KCP gone now. And now you're going to rely on Braun to take a shooting step up. And then your depth, you brought in Russ, which does not help with shooting at all. And then your rookie, De'Ron Holmes, unfortunately goes down with an injury, so that hurts your depth even more. I think this team is really, really a lot worse than last year.
Yeah, I went with the Kings here. I really like what they did in the offseason. I was a bit iffy on DeMar initially, but I think this is going to be a great addition, I think. Because they have like more of an unpredictability to their offense, which last year kind of got more predictable with Fox Sabonis 2-man game. Now getting DeMar DeRozan, having another source of offense, a guy that can score in the half court, and then Keegan Murray's, I think, he's going to get better once again. Like he's already one of the top 3 and D guys in the league. Just their offense overall is going to be very, very good, I think. Like they have like a lot of guys who can score as well, shoot the basketball. And even defensively, I mean, I don't think they're great defensively, but they have some capable defenders. So like De'Aaron Fox like you mentioned, had a good defensive year, and Keegan Murray was good defensively. Keon Ellis was huge for them as well. And then the floor, then Devin Carr is also coming known for his defense, though he'll be missing the first 3 months. But overall, I think their offense will be one of the best in the entire NBA, and then their defense will be probably around like 18th, 19th-ish, which I think will be enough to get into the top 7.
Well said there, TK. I quickly want to add in another point about Denver after Mohit raised it there. But I mentioned their health for Jamal, even MPJ. But what I didn't mention is Russ has got a really poor injury history also over the last few years. And the fact that their backup for Russ even is someone like a Trey Alexander, a rookie, or even Jalen Pickett, that concerns me even more. And as Mohit said, if Jokic goes down, which luckily he hasn't over his career, their backup for Jokic is, I don't know, DeAndre Jordan, Dario Saric. And love DeAndre Jordan, looks like a great guy. But he's just a clapper at this point of his career. He's a good rebounder still. But other than that, I don't know what I see out of him. Like, the fact that they've still got that Zeke Naji contract on their hands and they didn't really utilize that. It's 8 mil, 9 mil. I would have had that gone. Somehow find yourself a quality, even an end of bench guy, someone who can be ready to just play. But Denver it's blasphemous, it's shameless, it's pretty pathetic what they've done this offseason. And the fact that the media doesn't really give them any slight, whereas other teams, if other teams, like, I don't know, the Lakers didn't make any moves this offseason, but they got a lot of slight from the media. But I thought their offseason was still better than Denver's. Anyways, with my 6th seed, I've got the Houston Rockets.
I've got the Pelicans.
Pelicans as well.
So I've got Houston here because last year I really loved what I saw from them, right? And now they have another year under Coach Ime, and you're bound to see another breakout from 2 to 3 guys, whoever it is. It could be a list of 1 to 9 guys. That's how deep they are with young talent. Firstly, I want to pass on my good thoughts to AJ Griffin, who is thinking of leaving the NBA. Hope he's going well. But I really love what they've done this offseason, and quite frankly, they did really nothing on the court. They drafted Reed Shepherd, who I don't think will play much in year 1, but I think he's going to be very, very impactful when he does play in the next few years. But my main thoughts are Jabari Smith Jr. I thought he had a really underrated year last year. Very efficient, really good defender, and he seems like he's going to be a prototypical guy next to Şengün when it comes to 3-4 years down the track. I'm interested to see. I think Jalen Green's going to have a huge year because he knows he needs to play well to get paid. And Houston, Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks had a really underrated year last year. I think they're just going to continue do what the team needs. And then Şengün, the issue with the Rockets last year for me was they didn't have a backup for Şengün. Love Jock Landau, shout out Australia, but he wasn't that good last year for them. Now they got Steven Adams, one of the best. He was one of the most impactful starting centers, non-star starting centers in the league the last few years. Now he's going to back up Şengün and play 15 to 20 minutes a night. High level rebounding, high level physical presence. So I've got Houston at 6.
Yeah, with the Pelicans here, I think Zion's gonna have a very good season this year. He's gonna take another step forward in his development. Like we already saw in the second half how impactful he was. And then along with I think BI and the contract here will be motivated. I think he'll be much better. He wasn't great last year. I think he'll improve. And then Trey Murphy, I think, will also take a step forward this year. They have Herb Jones, like that wing duo is great. And CJ McCollum, I think, will still be a steady veteran who can score on all 3 levels and probably be a scoring valve when you need them. But the problem for them is they don't have like a center. Like their center position is very much cooked at the moment right now. If they had a center, they'd be like, I think, top 4, top 3 seed. But not having a functional center is a problem, and that will lose them more games as a result. Please.
Yeah, the thing with the Pelicans, I really, really wanted them to trade Brandon Ingram for Jared Allen. I think that makes them legit contenders with a guy like Allen at center. But I think, I mean, the center is obviously a big hole. And then, like, how much are they going to be able to utilize Trey Murphy and Herb Jones when you still have CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram on the roster? And they haven't been able to find a trade partner for either of those two guys yet. So I think that really limits their use. If they could just trade away those two and really commit to the young guys with Herb and Trey Murphy, I think they're a really good team in the future.
So now for my 5th seed, I've got the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I've got the Mavericks.
I have the Suns.
I've got the Timberwolves here because I do think we're going to see some. Although I do think we're going to see some progression from Anthony Edwards, I don't know, but something about this Timberwolves roster just doesn't scream better than the other four I'm about to name to me. I don't know what it is, but I really like what we saw from them in the playoff run last year. Went to the conference finals, but I think we're going to see some natural regression from Rudy Gobert. Even Cat is getting up there, and their bench is still. I'm interested to see how impactful Dillingham is, because I think Terrence Shannon Jr. will be more impactful than him in year one. But I'm just interested to see what they do. I don't know, it's hard to put this one into words.
Yeah, I went with Dallas here. I think bringing in Klay Thompson, obviously, on paper, that's a really good addition, and he's going to help with their spacing. But I do think the defense, when Luka, Kyrie, and Klay are all on the court, is going to be very, very shaky. And I think that's going to end up costing them some games.
If I had the Suns here, I think they did improve their team. I think getting Tyus Jones is exactly what they needed, along with Monte Morris, 2 point guards who can, handle the ball, pass. I feel like that kind of more playmakers, so they can allow Booker to get back to shooting guard position where he's best suited for, and KD off the ball. I think that will hurt their defense, though. I think both are not great defenders. And also, I think KD was also uncharacteristically very healthy last year, so I think that could also kind of affect them a little bit. But I think getting Tyus Jones does improve them too, so it kind of just cancel each other out, basically. So I think the other teams are still a bit ahead of them as well, but they'll be in the mix though for sure.
Next up for my 4th seed, I've got the Memphis Grizzlies.
How about the Suns?
You got Timberwolves.
So I've got the Grizzlies here. They're going to be healthy again this year, hopefully. And we've seen how impactful the Ja, Bane, and Jaren Jackson trio can be when they're healthy. The issue with them is how impactful will Zach Edey have to be in year one. If he's very impactful, solid production, I think that rockets them up. But if he's not that impactful and they got to rely on Jaren at the 5 or Brandon Clark at the 5, I can see them being a play-in team, 7 to 6, 6 to 7 play-in range, that type of thing. But I really like what Memphis has done this offseason. Hopefully Gigi Jackson comes back sometime this year. But they've got depth at a lot of positions. Hopefully they're all healthy.
With Phoenix, I think obviously bringing in Tyus Jones as that lead playmaker, I think he's going to have a really good season here in Phoenix. And then I think their depth is solid. It's kind of underrated. They have some very solid depth players with guys like Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, and Mason Plumlee's with all right backup center, Monte Morris. And if Ryan Dunn can have somewhat of an impact in his rookie year, I think the Suns can easily be a top 4 seed.
Like Edmund said, I do think the Timberwolves will take a bit of a step back this year, but I think they'll still be a great basketball team, still top 4 in the Western Conference. They're still going to be, I think, a top defense in the entire league. And I think Anthony Edwards will take a step forward this year, along with Karl-Anthony Towns. He's going to continue to do what he does. Jaden McDaniels, I think he'll also get a little bit better. I think he kind of stagnated a bit offensively last year. I think he will. I think he will do much better. I think he'll show some more offensive flashes. Their bench, I think, got a little bit weaker. So they're relying on a couple of rookies, which it's not a sure thing that they contribute to winning in a positive way. That's why it's a little bit concerning, but I think overall their top 7 is really solid. I think they'll it's gonna be a top 4 seed.
For my third seed, I've got the Dallas Mavericks.
I went with the Memphis Grizzlies.
But Memphis,
I've got Dallas here because I think a full year of Derek Lively being impactful, the two bigs, Luca who every year he's had a good center, which is practically only this year and one of the KP years. It went to winning basketball. Obviously, they made the finals last year. As Mohit said, their defense, Najee Marshall's going to have a big year because they've sacrificed a lot of defense for offense on an already good offensive team. Love Klay Thompson. I think he'll do really well there. He's going to get a lot of corner threes, and that it's going to be a very deadly offensive system. But Marshall and Grimes are going to, and Exum are going to be very good defensively, as they've shown they can be. And I wouldn't be surprised if Najee Marshall's the starting small forward by December, and they bring Klay off the bench in that 6-man role. I don't know if Klay will actually accept that, because I reckon he went to Dallas and he got promised a starting role. But we'll see. It'll be interesting to watch.
I got Memphis here. I think Memphis is gonna definitely have a bounce back here this year. I think getting everyone back is gonna be huge. John Morant, I think he's gonna be motivated, ready to kind of prove people wrong. Like I think he's been kind of being a little underestimated, a little bit underrated, a little bit since he hasn't played in over a year. I think he'll show us once again how he was a top 10 player in the league when he was last healthy. And then Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson, they're gonna continue to get a high level. Marcus Smart, we'll have like a full season of him now with this core that had all that success before Jaw's injury. And also adding and how also the 2 wings and Vince Williams and Gigi Jackson when he comes back is gonna be huge as well. And then Zach Edey, I think, will be impactful in his rookie year with his screen setting and his rebounding and his rim protecting. All that will be very helpful for them. Yeah, so overall they're a good defensive team. I think they're really solid offensively and they have good depth at all 5 positions.
To my second seed, I've got the Phoenix Suns.
I have the Dallas Mavericks.
So I went with Phoenix here because I think they're going to be a very, very, very good regular season team. The issue last year was they didn't have good point guard play. Now they brought in 2 of the best assist to turnover ratio point guards in the league, Tyus Jones and Monte Morris, respectively. They've got depth at every position. Their defense it's going to be an issue, and I think the Bradley Beal situation is so intriguing to me because if he comes off the bench, I can see him doing damage in the playoffs. If he wants to start, which again he's earned that in his career, then again I just don't see how they get out of the first round even as a second seed. So it's all like really close in this Western Conference. It's like a little puzzle how coaches match up, how players match up, and how they try and scheme against the other team.
Yeah, with Mavericks here, and I think they had the best offseason out of, well, second best offseason. I think OKC had the better offseason in entire NBA. Like, they upgraded every single player they had last year. I think Najee Marshall is an upgrade over Derek Jones Jr., Klay Thompson an upgrade over Tim Hardaway Jr., and then they got Quentin Grimes. I think he'll be better than Josh Green. I think Quentin Grimes can have a bounce back year. Like just a couple years ago, or a year ago, he was a major part of the New York Knicks rotation. He was a starting shooting guard with his great defense and his shooting and creation. I think we're gonna see a bounce back from him. And I think Najee Marshall, he's still very young. I think he's gonna only show a lot of that 3-and-D play. And I think Klay Thompson, I think, will get a lot of better 3-point looks now in this Dallas Mavericks offense with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving as the creators. And they're like 10, 11 deep. Like they have a lot of depth. Their defense is basically just as good, I think. Their offense got better. Like I think just overall, even Derek Lowry, I think he's gonna take a step forward this year. And a full season of Daniel Gafford, like I think this is gonna be the biggest threat to OKC in the Western Conference.
Now to our 1 seed, we both got the Oklahoma City Thunder. There's not much to say about the Thunder because it's all common sense, really. They've replaced Josh Giddey and, I don't know, Jalen Williams from Arkansas out of their rotation with two starting quality people. You got Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hardenstein. Hardenstein addresses a huge weakness, which was size and rebounding. He does that. He's one of the best centers in the league last year for the Knicks. He was really impactful when Robinson went down. Alex Caruso, one of the best role players in the league, 40+% from three last year, top 3 perimeter defender in the league. The Thunder got 50+ wins last year, and they've added 2 of the best role players in the league to this core.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is pretty much common sense. Like I think SGA is going to continue to do what he does. Then you have Data, Chet. They're only in their second and first year, so they're only going to get even better. And obviously adding 2 role players, 2 of the better role players to replace like a couple of guys that weren't as impactful, like in Giddey and Jalen Williams, is huge. Like overall, they're a top defense. They're going to be the best defense in the entire NBA, and their offense as well, I think, will be maybe the best offense too. Like they're good. They're like crazy good on both ends of the floor. I think it's easily them.
Yeah, that wraps up our Western Conference standings predictions. Now to a question or two. We've got a question here, which is, which team in the West has the highest variance in terms of ceiling and floor? I'll go first. I would say the Phoenix Suns or the Houston Rockets.
My pick is the Rockets for this.
Which team will take the biggest step forward and back? Well, back, I both think we'll say the Clippers. Forward, I've said the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, step forward is Grizzlies and Rockets, and then step back is Denver and Clippers.
Who will be the funnest player to watch? Let's say, who is the newest player on his roster who wasn't there last year, who will be the funnest player to watch?
But I think it'd be like Alex Caruso.
I'm gonna go Chris Dunn. I thought Chris Dunn last year for the Utah Jazz was really, really good. His 3-point efficiency got up, his playmaking was better, his defense is one of the best sneaky underrated in the league. And I'm really excited to watch him play for the Clippers this coming year. And here's one more. What team will be the biggest disappointment?
Yeah, I think it's the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, it's quite easily Denver. I went on that 6-minute rant earlier in the episode, so I won't repeat myself here. But it's just frustrating thinking about their roster this year and what could have been. They legitimately could have had a path to a dynasty, but they decided not to pay up. Well, with that being said, thank you guys for listening to episode 10 of the Fanspo Hoops podcast. Thanking Mohit and thanking you, TK, for helping out again with the episode. And thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.